You cannot make this up. Mayoral candidate Zoran Madami delivers address on Islamophobia. And I believe that this thing said, Zoran through tears, my aunt stopped taking the subway after 9/11 because she did not feel safe in her hijab. Yes, she was the real victim of 9/11. I want you guys to look at this picture here. This is what Zoran Madami represents. I love how he put all of these people up, and they're just Muslims. They're just African Muslims. But he put a bunch of dark-skinned Muslims up to kind of, because this is the thing that he's been doing, right? Every single time Zoran comes out, it's inorganic as hell. And anybody with two eyes can see this. There's something very off about, well, we know what's wrong with him. But if you was just looking at this man and not really paying attention, and you just looked at him for more than 10 minutes, you would be like, there's something very wrong with him. Let's say if we completely removed him being a radical Islamist, you would just look at him and be like, he's fake as hell. Again, he's never held a job. He was exposed as living in a low-income house, but he's whining and dining in the most expensive restaurants. He eats finger and hand food with a fork and a knife. No one does that. I know they tried to make fun of Donald Trump doing it, where I think it was like a taco bowl, right? He had a fork and a spoon or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, you eat that with a fork and a spoon. This guy is just inorganic as hell, and he pretends that he's an everyday New Yorker. Look at what's behind him. This is what he represents. These are the people he's going to be helping. This is the people he's pushing forward, and he's going to give them free reign to just do it again. And it's sad because, look, I'm gonna meet you guys in the middle of the road. Not all Muslims are bad people. Some people are Muslim by proxy, born into it. Some people don't. A lot of people can't say that they don't want to be Muslim in the fucking Middle East being born over there. They're born into it. Some people just follow it because they just don't got a choice. There are some people that follow it that are not bad people, that are just good people, but that's just what they follow. Now, personally, I believe their religion is shit. As a non-religious person, I believe Christianity is superior. Problem is, Christianity is very fucking weak because they allow Trojan horse religions like this to infiltrate the country in vast numbers, unvetted, and it's insane. But let's listen to this man.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York.
Oh, okay. So that was it? So there's a longer version here.
September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Today has
Look at how many fucking Muslims are behind him. This right here should be the biggest red flag for any fucking body. And the saddest thing about it is the ones that are voting are not people who are seeing this as red flags. The ones that are voting are the commie kids, the bleeding heart liberals, and the my body, my choice, anything that's not white, anything that's non-American is what I'd rather vote for. Like these self-hating fucking Americans. Look at these are all African Muslims or people who follow the Muslim faith. This is the wildest shit in my eyes because there's Jewish groups that are voting for this man. How? How did we get here? It's been less than 25 years. How did we get here? The fact of the matter that he could sit here on his high horse and talk about his fuck your aunt. No one gives a shit about your aunt didn't feel safe going on the subway after 9/11. Almost 3,000 people, I think it was 29,000 something fucking people will never ride the subway again. including Muslims. Because radical jihadist was trying to hurt people. It's actually funny because I had a friend, some black friend or whatever like that, a black supremacist that was sitting there and he was trying to gaslight me and say 9/11 they weren't trying to harm black Americans, and I had to sit there and I had to tell him, like, look, you really think they give a fuck about black Americans? You're still American, you're still Christian, you're still not of their faith. They don't give a fuck what color skin you are. Just like they didn't give a fuck when they subjugated Africa to Islam. Just like when they're over there killing all those fucking Nigerian Christians. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about New Yorkers. There's 3 stages to this shit. First, they pretend that they're weak, that they're victims, that they've just been treated wrongly. And then, once they get a little bit more power, they start showing their ass. Now they're out there and they're praying. They're praying in the middle of the fucking street, places where, even though they have mosques in their own personal, which is insane to me, I don't understand why there's even mosques in the United States. I'm sorry. But not only that, not only do they have mosques in the United States, I think in Minnesota, they're begging fucking their religious shit 5 times a fucking day, the Islamic prayer, and fucking Christians let them. It would be one thing if people were not aware. It would be another, but it's a completely another thing when there's a history of them doing it. But not only is it a history of them doing it, they've done it in recent history. October 7th, 12,000 fucking people died, including Americans, during that concert. And we gotta sit here and pretend they're the victims. They're living in an outside prison. Whenever some stupid commie kid, freshly indoctrinated out of college, comes out, talk about, we need to globalize the infadadas, the enchiladas. Did we really forget these motherfuckers were celebrating in the streets during 9/11? Did we forget during October 7th they were celebrating in the streets still? I've seen people sit there and say, New York is going to get what they deserve. And we're just going to isolate from New York and California and everything will be fine. You're fucking cowards. Anybody who sits there and thinks like that, you're a fucking coward. And you're going to keep surrendering land until you find out you're surrounded on all sides by your fucking enemies. That mindset has always blown my fucking mind. This is no different than the fucking white boys sitting there setting up those autonomous zones. You think that they stopped on their own? No, they were going to continue to make as many as possible, which they did until they got shut down. And even in Seattle, they were still making autonomous zones. They just stopped another autonomous zone over in Seattle or in Portland, whatever the fuck. They're combined at this goddamn point. And we sit here and pretend. We sit here and pretend. We just let all the fucking crazy people outvote people. Again, I saw on Twitter somebody was like, "Oh, what the fuck is wrong with New Yorkers? They so fucking stupid." And it's like, yo, bro, nobody from New York is really voting for this dude. I personally know nobody in New York who even was aware of this fucking dude. And every time you speak to them about this fucking dude, they're fucking, you can see the horror in their fucking eyes. Every time this man went to a rally, it's always been in a well-off white area. I know whites don't want to hear that shit, right? Because they could never be the source of a fucking problem in their eyes. It got to be everyone else. He's always going to well-off white areas, like colleges or whatever like that, shit that's closed off, and he's preaching socialism or communism, whatever the fuck you want to call it, which at the end of the day, it's their form of takata, or whatever the fuck you call it, right? Fuck the semantics, whatever the fuck you call it. He's gonna say whatever he needs to say to get into power. And then what you're gonna start seeing is a boom of fucking Muslims come into New York. They already got the blueprint of what they need to do to take over the United States. And here's the thing. It's not gonna be a self-isolated incident. If you give up the biggest city in the United States, if New York completely falls to Islamist, you don't think that shit is gonna spread? You don't think it's gonna be knocking on your door? Like again, it would be one thing if you was unaware. It would be one thing if they were super fucking smart about it and wasn't aware. They boast about this shit. They say it straight up, and people just ignore it. Just fucking ignore it.
Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Today he has his press conference. I watched a chunk of it. I didn't hear any words for the victims of 9/11, but he found the real victim, his aunt.
Is he?
The victims of 9/11 were in the Twin Towers. Those were the victims.
Is the implication here that he has to answer for the terrorists who attacked 9/11?
Stupid black bitch. Stupid black bitch. Listen, he won't condemn Hamas. He won't sit. He'll say all of this shit about he wants to arrest the what is it? Israel's fucking president or whatever the fuck it is. If he came over here, he's willing to do that. That's what he feels like. He's already sat there before and showed support for radical Islamist groups. He won't condemn them. He won't sit there and say after the peace deal, the peace deal that Trump set up, that I was laughing my ass off like, you fucking stupid if you think this shit is gonna last longer than a week. They don't want peace. Even if the Jews are as bad as what they claim they are, the other side is much worse, and they don't want peace. They love death more than life. They think that it is honorable to have their entire bloodline killed in battle. Glorious jihad warfare. Why is it takes a motherfucker like me to sit here and just be like, oh, I get it. I am common sense boy. I forgot about this. I forgot. That's the reason why I feel so strongly about it. Because common sense should not be so fucking uncommon to go, damn, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't, as a sheep, put all these leopards in close proximity to where I sleep. Nah, I'm gonna put them in anyway. Everyone's the same. Listening to this fucking woman sit here and say, does he have to sit there and answer for all of them? Do you give the same luxury to people on the right? No, you don't. But Zoran Madami's, you're getting defense because, of course, it's CNN. Crazy.
He has to answer for the terrorists who attacked 9/11?
No, I think if you're going to run for mayor of New York City, or have any position in New York City, and you're going to talk about 9/11 or invoke 9/11, you darn sure better start with the people who died in the Twin Towers. That's what I think. And he didn't do that, and he kind of, he made it about his experience and his aunt and all this. My advice would be, if you're going to want to be the mayor of this town, and by the way, he's probably going to win, that moment in our history, you cannot lose sight of what happened. People died in those Twin Towers. They did not deserve to die. We did suffer a terrorist attack, and we can't really forget the moment, making it about him and his family. Okay, there were almost 3,000 people that died there. It's a big deal. It is true.
Just fucking said that. It just goes to show you they don't give a fuck. They have a clear goal. I don't understand why we as Americans or people, Muslims who assimilate properly, have to pretend, and we have to play nice, and we have to not upset these fucking people when once they get the power, they've shown they don't give a fuck if they upset you. They don't give a fuck if they trample on your fucking freedoms. They don't give a fuck about none of that. But I gotta be sad. I gotta be scared. I gotta hold my tongue about this shit. Who do you... it's funny. It's funny because I was in a shelter in New York probably 7 years ago-ish. It was the Armory. I had to go to the shelter in New York City for a bit. And the complete DNA of New York City shelters it was completely different. There weren't really Americans there. They were replaced by Spanish illegals. Let's be real here, right? Just a fucking horde of Spanish illegals. You had your Muslims, pick your choose, Middle Eastern and African Muslims. And it was a woman running the Armory in Brooklyn. If you've ever gone to New York City, there's like this giant fucking castle. I think on Nostrand Avenue, on the A and the C train, I believe. And there's this giant fucking castle. They turned that into a shelter. Not one of them, those people that they were taking care of, I would say 80% of those people offer nothing to the United States, will never assimilate to the United States. And I remember this because I was working and I was getting ready to go to work, and I'm brushing my teeth in the fucking bathroom. And one of the fucking one of these fucking African Muslims, of course, comes up to me, and he's talking like he doesn't even speak English, but he wants toothpaste. Even though they give them toothpaste, though granted it's not the same quality of toothpaste that I had. But they wanted toothpaste. But mind you, in the same thing, they were throwing away toothbrushes. They were washing their feet in the fucking sink. They don't assimilate at all to Western civilization at all. They came to dominate and conquer it. Yo, man, New York City, boy. New York fucking City. At this point, I'm sitting here saying to myself, it's better that they rip off the fucking Band-Aid. Because just like fucking London, I don't think New York is going to go the way of London. But I feel bad because what's going to end up happening is that fucking kettle is going to blow the fuck up. Because this is not the UK. If you think, I believe right now there are more blacks, there are more whites in New York than there are Muslims. But then again, they do play the long game. They love the fucking long game. But if you think New York, the ones who are voting him in, right? The well-educated whites or whatever indoctrinated other fucking groups that are voting him in, the well-off, those people. There's another group. There's a silent group. There's a silent majority in New York. And if you wasn't paying attention during the BLM riots, you would think that those BLM riots had all the fucking blacks and all of the fucking people in New York City that were down for it. No, it was a small turnout. It was a lot of people, but there's a lot of people in New York. But I believe that there's like 10 million people in fucking New York City at the time where the BLM riots was happening. They were only getting like 10,000 people in a protest, right? During the biggest moments, everybody else was fucking working. I need you to understand this. Most people were fucking working. Most people had shit to do. That's the silent fucking majority. Because I don't think New York is going to go the same way of London. I hope it doesn't, because if New York falls, everything else is falling. I've already said it before. If America falls, everything falls. The fact of the matter that there's so many red flags, the fact of the matter that there's so many things that should disqualify this individual and he's still fucking running unimpeded makes no sense. The fact of the matter that New York is so fucking brain dead that fucking Curtis Silva doesn't have a chance, has never had a chance. For all he's done for New York City and cares about New York City says so fucking much. There needs to be a uniform reform in the United States on criminal sentencing, on the way we handle politics, and all of that. Politicians should be easily removed when they violate and fail the people. When you consistently fail the people, when you are consistently fucking over the places where you're supposed to govern, politicians should be removed in all forms of government. When you have a dual allegiance to other places besides the United States, when you sit there and you say, my goal is to represent and to benefit, where the fuck did Ilhan Omar come from? Somalia. You need to be removed. Period. Zohar Madani, I think, lied on his fucking citizenship papers. First off, this motherfucker hasn't even been in the United States for 10 years. You have people that's being deported for longer. They didn't even know they were illegal.
Madani, he's allied himself with certain people. A lot of the people that surround him, the people involved in this democratic.
You mean radical jihadist? When somebody asked him, do you support, do you condemn Islam? He said, what is Islam? This is the same shit that the left does when they go, oh, it's not real socialism.
Socialist organization. I mean, they have said more than a handful of eyebrow-raising things when it comes to their views of America, their views of Jewish people, and so on and so forth. He knows that. He does align himself with them. He doesn't really distance himself.
Again, fuck the Jews, fuck Muslims, fuck anybody who's not about actually properly progressing the fucking West. I don't got a problem with any group. I got a problem with the way people think. I have a problem with dangerous ideologies, especially when you're trying to subjugate people like me, my fucking people, to the backwards ass shit that you got in the Middle East. Sorry, not sorry. Did any journalist even bother to fact check Zoran Madami's teary-eyed claims about an aunt in New York City? Or were they too busy jerking off to this story? Because it looks like Madami's only aunt doesn't even wear hijab and has never lived in New York. Almost 3,000 people fucking died. Almost 3,000 people died in the World Trade Center attack. But we over here talking about his auntie. Man, oh man. Maybe he met his aunt in a very broad sense. But yeah, journalists should probably ask for a name and go with the story. Not okay. It is a lie. Aunt in Islam can mean many things. Not necessarily a blood relative, maybe a respected woman in the community or a family. This isn't meant to defend him. It just shows you how they lie more easily. Could have met his nanny or family friends. Immigrants, co-law friends, family members, aunt and uncles. Dog. He know what the fuck he said. He know how he meant it. Man, why are we sitting here playing this game? Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. He is going to retort that he didn't mean literal blood-related aunt. He meant auntie, as in any older female. Doesn't have to be related. It's popular terminology against Indians. Well, you know what's funny? That's news to me because I thought it was popular terminology among fucking blacks. Again, this is... Zoran Madami completely changes the way he talks and how he sounds depending on the country he's in.
Sounds like socialism. This is Zoran Mamdani. He's running for mayor of New York. Here's what he normally sounds like.
We gathered tonight in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country, in the history of the world.
But in an interview in South Africa, he sounded a little different.
I actually created a playlist for Mira, who also happens to be my mother. Nepotism and hard work goes a long way.
And in an interview with the Turkish-American podcast, Mamdani sounded different again.
I'll be honest with you, Brother Mansoom, is that at this point, not many people are thinking about it.
And here is Zoran during his rapper days.
You know, it would have been here earlier, but worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is.
Okay. Yo, are you fucking sick? All right. I'm getting off the computer for now. Bye.